Hi everyone, Aaron here for Zollotech, and iOS 14.3 Beta 3 has been out for a few days by the time you're watching this video, and in general it's pretty good. It fixes some problems, but there's still some that remain. So I want to talk about my overall experience and then your experience based off the YouTube community poll, and then also talk about when to expect the release of iOS 14.3, since iOS 14.2 seems to have some issues. In fact, people are saying they have more and more issues with iOS 14.2, and basically that it needs an update at this point. For those of you that don't charge your phone overnight, iOS 14.2 seems to have really bad standby drain. That includes iOS 14.2.1. So whether you're using MagSafe, wireless charging, or anything like that, if you're not using it overnight, standby seems to be greater than 10% as far as the drain over that time. I generally charge it at night and then bring it out in the morning when it's at 100% and use optimized battery charging in the settings. So that's normally what I do, but if you don't have that option, then of course it's going to be bad for you to drain that much during the night. So that's something, though, I'm happy to say seems to be fixed in 14.3 Beta 3, at least as far as what people are telling me that don't charge at night. So those that don't are seeing better battery standby time, so that's a great thing. Also, notifications seems to be a problem on 14.2, and it carries over to 14.3 for myself included. I'm not seeing my MMS and SMS and iCloud messages pop up on my display anymore. Now, currently, because I'm recording the video, I have Do Not Disturb turned on, but even when that's off, it doesn't pop on my phone. It will pop up on my Mac or my iPad sometimes, but mostly just the Mac, not on the iPhones for some reason. So it's kind of strange. I don't even really see it on my watch too much, so something's going on there, and it could be server side since it's not fixed with Beta 3. It could be Apple pushing those notifications as something isn't working properly on the back end for that. Hopefully it's fixed soon and it's something they can just fix, but at this time it seems to be a problem. Like I said, I have my notifications set to sort of pop up. They're highly customized. It's set to show previews always, and it's customized for everything I have. So hopefully that will be fixed soon. I've had others report that to me, including family members, saying it's not popping up. So it's not just me and a few other people. It's a lot of people that have reported that. Now, as far as what's in 14.3 Beta 3, like I said in the original video when it came out, there's not really anything of notice. However, it will have Apple ProRAW for the iPhone 12 Pro and the 12 Pro Max. So you have the little RAW option here should you turn it on, so you can get more detail in your photos. But there was one option that I didn't see and looked back and seems to be in iOS 14.2 Beta 2 as well. So if you go into your settings, go to accessibility, and if you use sound recognition, it seems like there's a new feature or a new sound it will listen for coughing. So that's an option. Maybe it was there before. I did check it in Beta 2 and it was there, but if you use that, that seems like it may be a new feature for some. Also, there's new search engine options. I mentioned those in other videos as well. So if you're in your settings and you go to Safari, for example, and you go to search engine, you'll have Ecosia as a new option. So you have Google, Yahoo, Bing, DuckDuckGo, and now Ecosia. There'll be other features as well when it comes out for Fitness, and Fitness Plus should be coming soon as well, I think with the 14.3 update. But I'll talk about when that's releasing, or at least when I think it's releasing soon. Now, as far as issues in this beta, well, I mentioned the notification issue. The other issue I'm seeing initially was with the iPad Pro. With my iPad Pro, I had some serious lag initially. The first day I was using it, while maybe it was doing some background processes, although it was later in the day, so usually that sort of thing is done, it had such severe lag that I could barely scroll between pages. Sometimes it would just not do anything, and actually I didn't have to reboot it. It recovered on its own, so maybe it was doing some things in the background, but right now it seems to be okay. But for a while it wasn't even responsive at all. And I did have issues with battery, and battery still isn't great on my iPad Pro. So it's draining very quickly. I'm not getting the normal 10 or 11 hours of screen on time with it. I'm getting more about 6. Now, it's only been a few days, so it will take a few days more to know if it's going to improve much, but my iPad Pro just does not seem to get the battery life it did before. I used it for an hour and 39 minutes yesterday and charged it to 100% at 9:38 yesterday. We're down a little bit to 93% without even using it. So there's that. It's not great. Hopefully it will improve soon, and that may need to be restored completely to fix that problem. Apple did say to do that on certain devices with iOS 14, for example. Now, as far as if you're having issues, make sure you report them in feedback, of course, and then Apple will fix them based on priority. But other than that, most people are saying that this beta is stable. Performance is great, specifically on older phones. So people did report lag in the YouTube community poll, but they did say lag was fantastic or fixed. There was no freezing or lag on older phones. So the iPhone 6S, the 6S Plus like I have here, or the 7 or any of those, it seems like it's much smoother. The overall experience is nice and fast, and there's really no issues. So it seems like people are having a much better experience with this particular beta so far on older devices. It's making their phone feel more new or like it did before. And I mentioned this in the original when it's out video, or when it came out video, that Apple did have a lawsuit against it from Italy for slowing down phones when the battery degrades over time. Now, whether or not you agree with that, or I don't know that I agree with that, since they actually need to slow it down so it doesn't shut the phone off, and then you replace the battery and it goes back to normal. However, they did get in trouble for that, and maybe they're just making it faster overall, and then it will warn you again if it shuts down on its own. So over time, as the battery degrades, the battery will let you know, hey, I need to be replaced. The battery health on this phone's 85%, but I'm still at peak performance capability. Now, speaking of battery life, most people are saying battery life is decent on this particular beta. So those that were having bad battery life with iOS 14.2 are saying that it's much improved. Now, that's not everyone, but that's the majority of people. And the battery life overall seems to be okay. And in fact, I think there's a problem with the numbers in the reporting, at least on my phone. Now, I could be wrong about this, but if we go into battery health on my 12 Pro Max is 100%. It's 93 on my 11 Pro Max. And like I've said before, battery health is not affected by the update. The update is just simply rechecking the physical condition of the battery. But battery life overall seems to be easily getting me through the day. At the end of the day, I'm putting my phone on the charger with 50 or 60%. And you'll see here yesterday, I had 3 hours and 26 minutes of screen on time, 4 hours and 20 minutes of screen off time. Now, I did have a lot of things using location in the background. You'll see that I used about 50% of my battery, a little more, but most people are reporting easily getting through a day, and most people are saying 10 to 12 hours of screen on time, even with their older phones, the 11 Pro Max, for example. So you're seeing the same battery life as iOS 13.7 for a lot of people. Not everyone is seeing that, but most people say even the iPhone XR is getting 7 or 8 hours of screen on time. So it seems like it's back to normal, or back to what it was at its best. So hopefully we see that with the final release, and of course it'll take a few more days to know if it's going to hold up really well, but I think it's getting more than the 3 or 4 hours that it's telling me. I think it's easily getting that 10 to 12 hours of screen on time for me. Now, before we look at the YouTube community poll, when is iOS 14.3 coming out? Well, I think it's going to come out this coming week. Now, I have some reasons behind why I think that. Some people may or may not agree with it, I'm not sure, but based off what Apple did last year, it seems like we should have it this coming week. We had a beta last year in the same week, and then the following the next week, and then Apple sort of goes on vacation. So if we look at the calendar, last year they released iOS 13.3 on the 10th. I would expect them to release iOS 14.3 next week. Now, if they don't, they could push it to the following week if they need an additional beta. iOS 13.3 had 4 betas, and we're on beta 3, so it's possible. But based off the build number, it's very possible to see the final release this coming week, and it wouldn't surprise me at all if we see it a little bit later in the week, since it gives them more time. Again, I could be wrong about that, but based off what they've done every year for a few different years, it seems like that's highly likely. And then Apple, for the rest of the year, will sort of not release anything, and then we'll start again in 2021. But that seems very likely based on what we've seen in the past. Now, as far as the YouTube community poll, well, the YouTube community poll did not have as many votes because not as many people are using this beta according to that poll. So let me bring the brightness down a little bit. And as you can see, 14% of you said it was great, 2% said it was terrible. That's actually quite low. 5% of you said it's okay, but some bugs. 69% of you are using iOS 14.2 or 14.2.1 or older. So most people are not even using this, and 10% are using Android. And you'll see at the time of this video, there's 5,000 votes. So sometimes we'll have 5 or 10,000 votes on a beta. Getting later in a beta, that's pretty typical at this time after a few hours. Now let's take a look at some of the comments and see what you had to say. And a lot of these comments are about iOS 14.2. So you'll see the first one from Danny says iPhone 8 iOS 14.2 bad ... Then another one is saying, Antonio Fernandez says, running iOS 14.2 on the iPhone 11 Pro Max, it's very good in general, but battery life sometimes is not that good. If we go down a few, you'll see Jeremy DeBose says, great on the 12 Pro Max. He's referring to iOS 14.3 Beta 3. So great on the iPhone 12 Pro Max and 2018 iPad Pro. The iPhone is getting 10 to 12 hours of screen on time, 0 lags, 0 resprings, signal, or keyboard issues. It's solid as any version I've had. Occasional resprings on the iPad since iOS 14.3, usually during multiple screenshots and editing those. So again, like I said, I'm having a different experience on the iPad this time, and that's not normal for me. Louis Alibea says, 14.3 Beta 3 battery drain fixed while on idle using XS Max and 7 Plus. No other issues. Mohammed Faisal Hassan, hopefully I'm saying that correctly, it's great using it on iPhone 7 Plus, and I'm getting around 8 hours screen on time. Jan Magnus Lindgren says, I'm on iOS 14.3 Beta 3 and everything works great on my iPhone XR. Wintermute 782 says 14.3 Beta 3 seems fine on the 11 Pro Max. We'll have to wait a few more days to evaluate battery life, but so far, no glaring issues. And we'll look at a couple more. David Empire says, no issues whatsoever with iOS 14.3 Beta on my iPhone 12 Pro. I really like the Pro RAW and the new customization options. Thomas Van Gorkum says, it's performing pretty great on my iPad 5th generation and my iPhone XS 256GB. Battery life is quite nice. I average screen on time of 4.5 to 5 hours on my iPhone XS with about 10% left. Quad Rider Honda says, seems great on 12.9 iPad Pro. Love your videos. Thank you. And you'll see the last comment, or it was really the first comment, Harsh Gujarati, first comment, iOS 14.3 runs incredibly good. And so that's it for iOS 14.3 Beta 3. Of course, like I said, look for it this coming week, hopefully, and then we'll have a little bit of time off the rest of the year based on what we've seen in the past. If you found anything in the beta I haven't mentioned, please let me know in the comments below. And also, if you'd like to get your hands on this wallpaper, I'll link it in the description like I normally do. If you haven't subscribed already, though, please subscribe. And if you enjoyed the video, please give it a like. As always, thanks for watching. This is Aaron. I'll see you next time.